Hey folks, I'm Robert Quinn, your LinkedIn Semiconductor Industry Ambassador. I am here at College Station at Texas A&M. We're at the Texas Semiconductor Summit. I'm here with Dennis. Dennis is the CEO of Partstat. Dennis, we're talking about supply chain. We're talking about where the industry goes. We just had a discussion listening to Chris Miller talk about the industry, supply chain, global economics, geopolitics, where everything is going with this industry. Tell me about Partstat. I know that you have some incredible solutions that you're working on. You're working with being able to purchase chips, store chips. We just had a discussion listening to Chris Miller talk about free trade zones and vaults. Tell me about Partstat. How is Partstat integrating and working with companies in this sector?
Yeah, thanks, Robert. It's great to be here at this event. Learned a lot, and Chris was great talking on stage about all the risk in the semiconductor industry. And so one of the things that we do, I think that's very unique to Partstat, inventory is the lifeblood of supply chain, and companies need this inventory, but balancing when they need the inventory versus getting it too soon is a real challenge. It's an impact on working capital. It has a lot of moving parts to it. So, we make it easy for clients when they come to us. They either have two situations, one situation could be they've already purchased critical semiconductors, could also include die and wafer, and they're concerned about where they're storing it. Right. And as you know, end-of-life chips are irreplaceable. They're no longer made. No. So where you store those chips is very important. And semiconductors in general have to be stored in an air-conditioned, humidity-controlled environment around people that know what they're doing, how to handle those chips. You have to be careful of electrostatic discharge and all types of things. So, so we have two different solutions for customers. One solution is if they have already owned the inventory, if they've already purchased it and they're concerned about where they're storing it, we have a solution for that. And then we have a solution for companies that qualify where we'll actually buy the inventory using our own capital, and so the customers preserve their working capital, lock in inventory costs over a long period of time, and then we provide this storage and fulfillment solution. And then on that solution, like as I mentioned, the EOL parts, the parts that are no longer made by the chip makers, when we store that type of material, we have in our facility in Winter Springs and in our fulfillment center in McAllen, Texas, in the free trade zone, we have actually semiconductor vaults. Wow. They're actual vaults. They have 1,100-pound doors, and when we buy end-of-life chips, we store them in our semiconductor vaults for the best in business continuity.
Nice, very nice. You talk about like the security, not only the security, but the we working in the fab, we're always worried about oxidation. We're worried about so many things, the exposure of different UVs to the chips. So being able to have that secure facility that you can keep chips in, not worrying about degradation of the chip, not having to worry about that for many years. Over, I believe you said one time it was almost 20 years. They've had studies where they're talking about they've stored chips for over 20 years. And had zero degradation with the right type of storage. And
actually, Texas Instrument had that study. So,
yeah, that's right. And it was really interesting to hear that and to think about where is the industry right now, where are things going. You mentioned something today in in the Q&A when we were talking to Chris today, Chris Miller. We're talking about you had talked about we have oil reserves. Why don't we have chip reserves?
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the perfect situation for that, right?
Right.
Like storing those chips in a facility for years to come. We all know that it's not the latest technology that's running the world today. It's the 256 nanometer chip that's in your doorbell, it's in your oven, it's in everything in our microwaves, it's in everything that we use on a daily basis. So why, we don't need the latest and greatest technology. And so why can't we just purchase large quantities of those chips today and store those chips in a facility? Like you said, we have reserves, national reserves of that type of material. And it sounds like to me you're providing a solution for that.
Yeah, and in a way, we are actually doing that. So we have some transactions where we've purchased maybe 12 years of inventory on behalf of a customer.
Wow.
And so we're supporting them throughout that entire term. And for that 12 years, what does the customer get out of that? Well, they don't have to spend their working capital,
right.
so they can preserve all their working capital.
Right.
They lock in those inventory costs throughout the entire 12-year term.
Wow, really?
And we store them in our semiconductor vault. So, you know, a lot of these companies are coming to us and they're looking for solutions. As I mentioned, they need this inventory, but there's a balancing act between having the inventory too soon and tying up all your working capital and having it just in time. And
right.
we provide a solution where companies can truly have the semiconductors they need just in time. We store them. And I go back to the semiconductor vault because it's just an amazing piece of equipment, if you will, that we have inside our warehouse where we can store that. You know, these vaults have a 1,100-pound door. They have their own watershed sealing, even though they're inside of our block construction buildings.
Right.
They're sealed. They have a backup generator. They're ESD certified, magnetically shielded.
Wow.
And the walls of this vault are on a special fire drywall on inside and outside the wall. But inside the wall, it's really neat. There's a steel Faraday cage, and inside this steel Faraday cage is 8 inches of ceramic fiber compressed to 6 inches of ceramic fiber. So this vault it's massive, it's very large, and you've seen it. And when we buy these chips for customers, we store them in the semiconductor vaults so that they have that inventory when they need it, but not too soon. You know, part of this is a balance sheet play as well.
Yes.
So holding inventory, we hold this inventory in our balance sheet, and we're in principal in these transactions. We're not an agent. So when we buy the inventory, or if customers already have it and they want to store it at our facilities, we offer both of those solutions for companies.
And one thing we all know, Dennis, is that the price of chips is going up.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. The price of chips, I truly believe that this industry, like the next 3 years, we start seeing TSMC and Samsung and Intel fabs going online. When they hit full production, these prices are going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
And they're already saying that they're at capacity.
Yeah.
They already said that there's a 1 year waiting list at TSMC. So like you could essentially buy tomorrow's chips with somebody else's working capital and then have those chips for tomorrow at the same price that you bought them for today. You can have them 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line.
Yeah.
And you're buying it with you're buying today's chips with tomorrow's chips with today's dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, essentially.
Yes, exactly what it is. And many companies we're brought in end of life last time buys. We've made hundreds of end of life purchases on behalf of our customers. But some companies come to us for different reasons. Some companies come to us and if they know they're not going to redesign and they know they're going to use certain chips for the next 3 years, they'll want to execute a discount, a volume discount purchase of those chips, where we use their existing supply chain, the existing supplier, and then we just hey, go ask your supplier this one question. If I buy 3 years of the chip today and I take delivery of all 3 years at one time and I pay you immediately for it, can I get a discount? And we've had some customers win that conversation and get those discounts, and then Partstat steps in and executes that transaction on their behalf.
With your capital.
With our capital. And then so companies lock in the inventory costs for the entire term. The 12-year transaction I was talking to you earlier about is for an aerospace customer.
Right.
We have chips for them, and the chips, if one of those chips today is a $10 chip that we're selling them, when they buy that chip 7 years from now from us, it's still a $10 chip. So
there's
lock in the cost.
There's no markup in what you're doing. You're not raising the cost and selling it to them at a later date for a higher price. It's theirs, and they can take ownership of it for the price they paid for it originally.
You got it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, Dennis, it was great having you on the show today and talking with you, and we're having an incredible event here at Texas Semiconductor Summit. Dennis and I will be speaking on the panel. I'll be hosting a panel tomorrow talking on semiconductor supply chain. And we're looking forward to an amazing event tomorrow as well. And it was great having you, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Robert. It's great to be here.
Talk to you later.
All right.